We will get to your calls a little bit later in the show, but as always, on Thursdays before home games, we welcome in Super Bowl champion and former Giants quarterback Phil Simms on the Simms Spotlight, which is presented by Bigelow Tea. Tea proudly. Phil, good to talk to you as always. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Phil.
Guys, good to be on the show, Paul, John, and look forward to talking a little bit, and I hope everything's going well with you.
Yeah, we're doing great, Phil, and let's just look back at that Cowboys game. The Giants very competitive, a great 425 game on CBS last week that all of us enjoyed. What was your overall take on the game and the Giants' performance?
Listen, a lot of good things happened in the game. I thought they played hard once again. There's no doubt about that. Many things I could talk about. I thought the offense showed more variety, more formations, using Daniel Jones, getting him out of the pocket on true rollouts, shifting. You know what they did? Of course, it's hard not to. They copied some of the stuff that the Cleveland Browns did when they just ravaged the Cowboys defense. But the Cleveland Browns are ahead of the New York Giants. So that was a good thing that they did do all this stuff to help Daniel Jones. But the Cowboy defense, after getting shredded, of course, they were fired up to play, do all those things. They did play better on the defensive side. And the one guy for them that really stood out is the linebacker, Jalen Smith, to me. He and DeMarcus Lawrence were both great. And if I'd say anything, those two, of course, Andy Dalton, that was something else. But those two really played well to cause the Giants' offense some problems.
You know, Phil, one thing that I really liked a little bit more, I think Devontae Freeman, as he continues to grow in terms of his role within this offense, is going to be a big help to them. I just think he's very gritty the way he runs, and he doesn't go down very easily. And I would suspect he's going to have a bigger and bigger role, especially starting this week against Washington, no?
Yeah, I would think so. I talked about this, it was last week, I guess. I love the way he runs, of course, and I said it. I saw him in Atlanta, and I just said, Mike, I'm shocked that he's still in the league because he ran so hard that you just can't sustain it. But, he knows that to stay in, to be part of the Giants, this is the way he's got to run, and it is good. And I'll say it once again like last week. 3-yard runs are important. 2-yard runs are important. Losing 2 is a killer for an offense. And the other thing is, too, the offensive line, it's been together now, and they're working together, and you just want to see more. You want to see them become a unit and be one that has a chance to really make a big difference in the game instead of just playing like, okay, it's a little better or whatever, but no, it's got to go up to where they play really well. And they give the receivers, Daniel Jones, Devontae Freeman, Wayne Gallman, whoever, a better chance to have success.
Yeah, Phil, I think you make a really good point, and I think they're getting their identity a little bit in the run game. We're seeing more pulling guards, more gap scheme,
yes.
Maybe less zone scheme inside, outside. I think you're taking advantage of guys like Will Hernandez who are better, going downhill and running with power. But in terms of protecting the passer, I think the Giants were pressured on like 2/3 of their snaps. It was the highest rate in the NFL last week. As you mentioned, I thought the Cowboys' ends kind of had their way a little bit with the Giants' tackles. What kind of progress have you seen in terms of pass protection, specifically from Andrew Thomas over there on the left side, the Giants' rookie first-round pick?
Well, he's had his moments, but, he struggled big time against DeMarcus Lawrence. And, look, it's a lot thrown at you. It's inside. When you're worried about your young guy, left tackle, and you're playing a guy like DeMarcus Lawrence, you're always worried about him going around the outside. And, listen, I've listened to offensive line coaches and head coaches, even during my career, talk about, I was always standing there when they were teaching the linemen. But I understand. When you're worried about speed to the outside, what really happens all the time, when you get fooled and they bull rush you, can you readjust and still stand in there and stop it? That's really the mark of a great tackle in the NFL, and he's getting better at it. But I would think overall, as I'm watching Jedrick Wills down with the Cleveland Browns, look, they got a good offensive line. They run the ball great, and that all helps. So it's making his play look better. Right. I don't watch the Cleveland Browns and go, oh, their rookie left tackle struggling, because their offensive line across the board is good. They got tremendous running backs. The scheme is good. And you said something that caught my attention, pulling, man-to-man blocking, getting better angles. In the NFL, you just can't line up and say, I'm going to whoop you over there on the other side. Like I always say, you need help. And sometimes pulling, you catch guys a little off balance, you get a better angle, and you can knock them out of the hole and help your running backs.
Phil, we saw Darius Slayton have a really nice rookie season, but already now he's got 2 100-yard games, comes off a really dynamite performance against the Cowboys. It's quite clear to me that he's starting to ascend to that next level. I mean, I think he's somebody the Giants can count on, no?
Yes, I think so. I think it's we caught something here with the 5th-round draft pick, and now the expectations have risen. Well, now I expect to see this, and we're going to see it. Look, he catches your eye when you watch the game, and, of course, the Cowboys got quite a few guys that catch your eye running down the field. But Darius Slayton, by and far, without question, is the guy for the New York Giants, and it's an epidemic around the league that all these receivers in the last couple of years, not drafted late, or whatever. Preston Williams, I'm just watching the Miami Dolphins. He wasn't even drafted. He was a free agent. Got hurt last year. And I remember hearing about him in training camp. And I watch him, and I can't tell the difference between him and Devontae Parker, their big star. So Darius Slayton, teams, running backs, wide receivers, I've never seen anything like it overall around the whole league, where I'm almost surprised when I look at a team and say, well, they don't have 3 really good receivers. If you don't have, it's like everybody's got 3, most teams, I should say, not everybody, but so many teams have 3 top-notch receivers, and a lot of teams have 2 and 3 top-notch running backs too.
All right, Phil, this is my last question before we get some of the questions submitted by fans. One thing I'd like to see more in the offense is maybe getting the ball to some of these receivers in motion so they can get some more run after the catch, whether it's, Golden Tate or Evan Ingram. Do you think the Giants' inability to do that has to do more with the fact that, perhaps maybe the offensive line isn't protecting long enough? Other teams are playing zones, and generally, as you know, again, zones you want to sit down in the holes rather than catch the ball on the move. Why do you think the Giants have been unable to kind of hit these guys in stride to get some bigger plays on yards after the catch?
Well, I think you said 2 things. One, of course, pass protection is always the number one thing. But 2, even in zones, yes, a lot of hookups and stuff like that, which they do a lot of. But, you still run through zones. And even though a team's playing zone, you could still run by them across the field many ways. I just see, as I watch, I try to watch every game every week. I'm a little behind this week, which I'm a little neurotic, so that bothers me. But I just see, but I'm just watching the Miami Dolphins. And, there's zones being played, and they're finding ways to maybe make corners or whatever hesitate, and then somebody runs by them in a corner route or whatever, and they're throwing 5 and 6 and 7 and maybe 8 deep balls a game, and they're hitting a lot of them. And it's because of against zones. It's just because it's what they are. They do it a lot. They have the talent, and that offensive line, just to give you an example, for Miami, they've played 3 rookie offensive linemen at times this year. And they're doing a good job, and Fitzpatrick is probably having a career year for him, how he's playing. But so hooking up, but you can still run through zones and catch the ball and keep running. But I haven't seen a lot of that from the Giants.
All right, I want to get to a couple of the fan questions here, Phil. We got a couple on Daniel Jones. Didn't run as much last week after a couple games of scrambling with the football and running a little bit. Did you see the Cowboys do something differently in terms of preventing him from running, or was it, frankly, the fact that the Cowboys just don't cover very well and Daniel Jones had a chance to throw the ball more than in other past weeks?
Well, that's a good one. Yes, he could pass the football, and when he had time, it was looking pretty good. But the Cowboy defense does have some speed on it, and when he did think about maybe even running, it was too late. Everything broke down. So the running, it's not by accident, but you have to catch a team playing man coverage, and the defensive line is way out of position. You take off and nobody sees you. That's why he had all the running yards the week before, a lot of it, and why he didn't get it against the Cowboys. I mean, a couple times, even on the sack, fumble and touchdown, I think he was going to try to escape, but man, DeMarcus Lawrence hit him so fast from behind, that stopped the run. So that's a great thing that he has in his back pocket. And the big runs for quarterbacks, they spread him out last week, which I thought was pretty good. But the big thing for quarterbacks running and passing situations, it usually is straight ahead, and then they get a chance to run down the field while everybody's trying to cover somebody and make those big yards.
Phil, we've got one that goes right to the heart of something that is in your past. Molten Centra 81 says to us, do you think the struggles of Daniel Jones is paralysis by analysis? Should Joe Judge tell Daniel Jones what Bill Parcells told you in 86? I don't care if you throw 4 interceptions, go out there, sling it, and be the quarterback you know you can be.
Well, it wasn't 4. He said, if you don't throw 2 Sims, you're not trying hard enough. And I said, don't worry, Coach, I can take care of that. And but it was his way of relieving pressure. I do not see that with Daniel Jones. I see his eyes going from one receiver to the next, as good as you want from an NFL quarterback. He was trained that way at Duke. He had to play that way at Duke. He was always under pressure, took a lot of punishment. And he had to go from one guy to the next and make those throws under pressure. And really, that's what he's doing with the Giants. His eyes do not get stuck on a receiver. So, it's a common little theme that people go to, these cliches. I'm not getting on the question, but I would say it if he was. But I've watched every play and every throw he's made. He is not a guy that gets stuck on one receiver. He can find the next one as quick as anybody.
All right, let's go to at Honeywell Jason, Phil. We kind of mentioned the O-line already. Who is the most talented quarterback you've seen not be as successful as they could have been due to their team's inability to protect them? The questioner says his is Jim Everett, had all the physical gifts but was seeing ghosts at the end of his career. How about you?
Well, yeah, Jim Everett was seeing ghosts maybe at the end of his career because he was down in New Orleans and just getting destroyed. and I remember watching him down there, and I thought, boy, Jim Everett is really, I'm trying to say the right word here, just buckling up, knowing he was going to take a beating. He showed great courage down there. Now, sometimes when he was with L.A., yeah, he was a little skittish in the pocket, but he remedied that. But guys, Matt Ryan's played under great pressure and done it over the last couple of years. Deshaun Watson did it. That's another one that comes to my mind. And Ryan Tannehill down in Miami, and even still with the Tennessee Titans, when he gets pressure, it doesn't bother. But he's a veteran now, he knows. But probably the number one guy that did not get great protection, and we all know him well, is Randall Cunningham. He made a lot of unbelievable plays where their offensive line blocked nobody. So he was one that could overcome a really bad offensive line and still make a lot of big plays.
How about David Carr, Phil? That's someone we bring up a lot on this show who really got into the league. I think he got sacked 70 times his rookie year,
76.
first overall pick.
Yeah.
He didn't have much of a shot either, huh?
No, he did not have a good – no, I remember watching – they won their opening game that year, if you remember, against the Cowboys, and it was a miracle that they won. And he took it was I was like, oh my gosh, if I was his father, I'd be like, I wouldn't have watched the game because it was really wicked. And yes, that was, I always say this, when you get beat up as a quarterback and you say, oh, it ruins your career, I don't believe that, because if you get beat up and that ruins your career, then you weren't the guy. And everybody's going to go through, hey, Joe Burrow, welcome to the NFL, big guy.
Hey,
I mean, it
point.
happened last week. Did he take a beating? I was like watching the game going, stop throwing the ball. It's over. Carson Wentz, my gosh, Carson Wentz is getting beat. I'm serious. It's almost scary watching him, what he's doing in games. There is just no way you can survive by taking the hits, all those hits. And but it's in the blood sometimes. Stand in there and go down with every play. And I think when you do that, all those hits sooner or later wear you out, affects your play, and of course your risk for injury goes way up.
Phil, before I give you the last Twitter question that we have, I can't help but tell you that as I was watching the Redskins game last Sunday,
poor Alex
Smith. He was getting pummeled. And I just kept saying every time they crushed him, please get up. I mean, you had a feel for this guy.
Well, I did. Two things. He's playing against the Rams, which is always a bad situation. It's not just Aaron Donald; it's other guys. And Aaron Donald he's fighting to become maybe the best defensive player in history. I mean, I know Lawrence Taylor. Listen, Giant fans will go crazy over that. I'm just saying he is on a pace. If it stays up, I've never seen anybody like it. But to go back to Alex Smith, he gets in. I saw the documentary, And I really had mixed emotions about watching him play and just going, oh, my gosh. And I was like, he was like my son. I was like, oh, man, get up and whatever. And then it was pouring rain. So, I mean, it was the worst of everything you could ever think of. But he hung in there, and you could see that he's healthy. And, of course, he wouldn't be put on that field if the doctors, everybody, the family, him, and the team, everybody was on agreement that he could withstand the hits on that right leg.
Hey, Paul, you know what? I have an idea. Why don't we save our last two questions for next week? I feel like they're evergreen. We can certainly ask those next week.
Yep.
I want to touch.
Phil's got to get to more film anyway.
Yes, he does. Quick, Phil, very quickly, Paul will get you a question on the game this week, but you mentioned Alex Smith. We also the Dak Prescott injury last week. What was your reaction to that, and how do you think the Cowboys will try to survive now with Andy Dalton as their quarterback?
Well, listen, Dak Prescott is one of the guys I said, man, you couldn't hurt him no matter what because he's built like a dang linebacker or a pulling guard. I mean, he just, no hit has ever fazed him, got unfortunate, so it was really sad to see. But I'll just say this, the Cowboys expected to be a good football team. And quite honestly, I expected them to be a good football team this year too. So what did they do? They went out and bought insurance, and that's what they got at Andy Dalton. They bought some insurance in case they lost their starting quarterback. You saw that he came in and played well. That's a pretty easy position to be in. Now he's got to line up, play the whole game. It's a different situation. So we'll see how he does. But Andy Dalton was a very capable, had some great moments with the Bengals. So I think he'll do well. Listen, the offensive line's not what we used to see, but the receiving core is truly, it's off the charts. And it's not only the starters, it's a backup or two, the tight end Schultz. I like him. So I think they'll find a way to maybe slow the game down a little bit, not put all the pressure on Andy Dalton, and he'll thrive pretty well.
Phil, you still have a couple of seconds or no?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, well, let me ask you then. We flip it back a question ago. We're talking about Alex Smith getting hammered by the Rams front. The Redskins' offensive line is kind of suspect, obviously, as well. Your thoughts on the Giants' front seven going up against the Redskins on Sunday?
The Giants front seven are going against the well, I would think, that it looks like I'm not sure who's going to start at quarterback. I don't think it's a given yet, right? Is Kyle Allen?
No, they haven't said it for sure, but Rivera has said
like
that
will be.
It would be Allen if he can.
Yep.
Yeah, the first thing that caught me with Kyle Allen, watching him play a little bit, was he got a little bigger and then a little faster. And actually, it's early, but I just thought, the ball's coming out of his hand better than it did in Carolina. But the Giants should be able to pressure. The Washington football team. I've been good. I've never slipped up on that. But they got a couple good players, and then it's got some Band-Aids. That's just the best way to say it.
Yeah.
So the Giants are getting better. Once again last week, the two big guys, I think, are being more active. Tomlinson and, Dexter Lawrence. Almost forgot his name. They're getting more active. B.J. Hill, you can see it. I swear, I'm watching them and going, they look more mobile, and they're getting better, and they keep improving. And, so I think they should be able to pressure the quarterback and have some success. And, hey, listen, if there's a team that the Giants can beat, another one, Washington is a team they match up well against, and I think they should have some success.
Well, Phil, final question. I want to flip it over. You talked about the Giants front against the Redskins offensive line. Well, you talked about Carson Wentz getting pummeled. I watched that Redskins-Eagles game in preparation for this week, and, boy, the Redskins pummeled Carson Wentz in that game. They were all over him the whole contest. So how do you think this Giants offensive line will hold up against the Redskins defensive front? And then the same question I ask every week. Just give me a feel for this game. Is this like a 1st to 20 type of situation? How do you think the flow of this game is going to go?
Yeah, I would say 1st to 20 is a good answer right there. I do. And when you look at the Washington defensive front, it's just not that it's good. It's got everything: power, speed, that. And I'm not sure about Chase Young. What is the word? I haven't seen the injury report. Is he out?
No, he played last week after missing a game with the groin, so I think he should be good to go this week.
Oh, he is good to go. Okay, well, good. Listen, Chase Young, loved him at Ohio State. When I saw him the first couple games of the year, I went, oh my gosh, he looks like a monster. He looks bigger in the pros than he did in college. But they have great inside players. Montez Sweat has, I think, been a little surprised. He's a weapon, I guess, for their defensive front. This is going to be a tough test for the Giants' offensive line. And the good thing is maybe quick passes, stuff like that. And like you said, too, just be more aggressive in the run game and let Devontae Freeman, Gallman, hey, take it straight ahead and do the best you can. And this will be interesting. But Washington's defense, that front has saved them. You know, they're ranked pretty high in the league because of that defensive front. And that defensive front, of course, makes it tough to pass. So what does that add up to? The Giants got to find a way to have some success running the football, that's for sure.
Phil, great stuff. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks when the Giants get ready to take on the Buccaneers.
Be well, Phil.
Okay, man. Oh, Tom Brady. Brady. Oh, my gosh. Tom Brady. Did you know he's going to have to risk it or there's no biscuit? I mean, all these catchphrases. I thought if I hear risk it, no biscuit one more time, I'm going to smash my TV. Thank God everybody quit saying it, so I thought I'd just bring it up real quick.
Well, Phil, I'll make sure that's my first question for you in 2 weeks. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you, Phil. Good stuff. That's Phil Simms, Super Bowl champion, former Giants quarterback. Does a great job. That was the Simms Spotlight, brought to you by Bigelow Tea. Tea proudly.